The three main takes on this moment when Marty encounters Rachel's newborn baby are: 1. Marty is crying for joy at seeing his baby. 2. Marty is crying for his career because he sees clearly that he is the father of this baby and that's a new responsibility. 3. That is not his baby. He is either crying for joy or crying for sadness at that. Probably both. A lot of people will argue which ending is true or the real ending, but I'm not interested in that. There was absolutely nothing about this movie that told me that we should be asking questions about what happens to Marty Mouser next. I barely came out of that movie giving a shit about that narcissistic man, other than that he was an interesting study in hustle culture, which is one of the things that this movie is about. So my question is, what do each of these endings say about ambition and the quote-unquote grind set? Marty is basically a user. He isn't just hustling in terms of working hard, he's hustling in terms of hustling people, literally. He rings his few friends and family members for every favor possible until they run dry, and even then he's not able to scrounge up enough support to carry him to the top. In no small part because he doesn't even try to be likable or to make new friends or allies. He wants to believe that all he needs is himself and his hard work and his skills. So if we go with interpretation 1, we see how the stressful whirlwind of a movie finally takes a breath when Marty is confronted with a complete foil to himself, a dependent, someone who cannot rely on himself and instead must be reliant on his caretakers. If Marty is going to walk into that role, he's finally thinking of someone other than himself. One could argue that we got a few glimpses of him caring about Rachel, but for the most part, he barrels through that attempt at caring too. Punching her husband Ira in the face in retaliation for Rachel's injury could be seen as an act for her. But is it? Finding Rachel a bed to sleep in via the one friend that Marty can still take advantage of might be another act for her, but it's a fleeting act. Neither of these things are solid, long-lasting, or reliable qualities that are necessary to caring for a kid. But perhaps we should throw out the idea that Marty is envisioning himself as a perfect father. Perhaps the encounter with the kid is a precise reflection of himself, someone who will not receive the support that he needs to be successful. Maybe the baby is a way of showing how the cycle of neglect will continue, emphasizing how the boy and the man, no matter how driven, will fail to thrive when left to fend for themselves. That feeds into interpretation 2, which is that Marty was recognizing the baby as his own, but is crying for sadness at the loss of his career. And I suppose that whether he was crying for joy or for feeling sorry for himself, it has little bearing on the actual outcome and the way he would treat his child moving forward. I'm sure there's a version of the person who's crying for joy who would still be a terrible father because he doesn't recognize the full responsibility that the role requires, and that one who's feeling sorry for himself in the moment might recognize what he's being asked to give up and will do it. Either way, I think it could go either way with either of those responses. But the underlying feature is that he is recognizing his role as the father, for better or for worse, which brings us to interpretation 3, which is the most hot take version, and that is that Marty recognizes that it's not his baby. A friend of mine was saying, and I do think that this is a solid point, that the baby was CGI, and why CGI a baby if its distinct facial features weren't important. Otherwise, just cast a baby. It really wasn't being asked to do anything that a baby doesn't normally do. And with control over these facial features, the baby that they displayed did resemble Ira significantly more than it resembled Chalamet. They chose not to give the baby light eyes, which both Marty and Rachel have. Well, it's still genetically possible for their baby to have dark eyes, but why design it that way when you literally have an eye color slider and you can just change it? The biggest counter-argument to the possibility that the baby is not Marty's is that the whole intro sequence showed the journey of a sperm to an egg, which most interpretations would say, we should just believe that scene. But it is a title sequence, so it's possible that it's not narratively valuable. It depends on how you view it. was funny, I guess. But the meaning. I think having it be Ira's baby would be very interesting to me. We watched Marty hustle and be hustled. We watched him be rejected and unsupported. We watched him fall just short of his goal that he maybe could have achieved under different circumstances with more support if he didn't have to hustle like this, if he didn't have to grind like this. We watched him try so hard and just not make it. And after all his wheeling and dealing, after all his cheating and conning, after all of that grind, the one person who really seemed to stand by him and love him and offer him a chance at something real was playing him right back. If the baby was Ira's, and if she knew that or had an idea, then Rachel's playing Marty's game and getting what she wants by all means necessary, which we did see her do with the fake black eye. So that interpretation is very fun to me. It's very interesting. But ultimately, what do I actually think, if you care? I think it was all of it. I don't mean that the baby is his and isn't his at the same time, but ultimately I don't think it really matters. I think Marty is crying because he failed and crying because the sweet and innocent dependence of a baby is more pure than anything he has experienced in his life, and because it's going to be corrupted because the cycle continues always. And I think that's a very interesting ending to a study on the American dream, rags to riches, bootstraps, hustle culture bullshit. Oh, and if you made it this far, I'll reveal to you, I didn't love Marty Supreme as a movie. I think the promotion of it led me to believe that it was going to be something else, and I was kind of disappointed that it wasn't that. I think maybe I would like it more if I watched it again, but I could make a whole other video about the promotion and what it made me kind of expect from the movie. I like Uncut Gems, and I like it more. I actually really liked Uncut Gems when I saw it. I haven't seen it in a long time, but I do remember liking it a lot more. Marty Supreme was a good movie. It wasn't boring, and I think that says a lot.